You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
Hello and welcome back to the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of thunderquack.com, which you can get early every Tuesday over at patreon.com/thunderquack, or you can wait and get it late. I forgot about our Patreon producers. I don't care. I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing it again. Our Patreon producers are Brian Murawski and JJ Samuel. You guys know that. Or you can wait and get it late over on podcast services across the galaxy, whatever, on Fridays. That's the thing. Whatever. You guys know what it is. Yeah, I don't need to say it the same every single time.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's my birthday. I can do what I want.
Oh, I like it. I'm Amanda Conkin, just for people that.
Oh yeah, I'm one of your hosts, Michael Cohen,
and I'm your other host, Amanda Conkin. I feel like I shouldn't say your other host. I feel like there's a better way for me to not undermine myself every time I introduce myself on Thunder.
Oh really? Because I thought you were gonna say like, because like I'm really not a host. I'm just a co-host.
Oh come on, thanks.
Well,
should I say? I mean, I feel like it would be better for me to say, and I could say, and I'm your co-host, Amanda Conkin. That sounds better than your other host.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's okay. So like Regis and Kathy Lee, they both hosted, right?
Okay.
Right. They were both the host of Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. And even later on with Regis and Kelly, like they were both hosting.
Yes.
Right. But like Conan and what's his sidekick?
I'm not your sidekick on this podcast.
I know you're not my sidekick, but I'm just saying like Conan is doing the heavy lifting. He's the one who brings the and I bring the topics. I edit the podcast.
That's true. I mean, the editing is a producer duty and a production duty, not necessarily a hosting duty.
But within the context of podcasting, like that's fair. That's usually the situation.
That's true.
I
do I could. I mean, I presented a topic for us to talk about today and it just wasn't very substantive, so we just are not.
It's true.
So
it's true. I mean, like go ahead. Like present it.
I mean, I don't know. We'll just chit chat about it because I don't know much about the Eternals. But I've been hearing about the Eternals for a while now.
Nope, nobody does. The people in the Eternals don't know anything about the Eternals.
Really? Okay, because it seems like it's a big part of the of MCU lore.
No, it's not. Okay. It's not. Like let me be super clear about one thing.
Okay.
Curtis will try and tell you that it is. He'll be like, "Oh, here's the epic collections to go read, and then listen to these episodes of the Epic Marvel podcast." Right? Like he'll try and tell you that, like, "Oh yeah, no, it's a big thing. It's a big thing." It's just like people will try and tell you, like, "Oh yeah, Fourth World in DC, super important, super important. Darkseid, yeah, the New Gods, oh, so super important. Jack Kirby, super important." No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
None of it's important, and the Eternals are like the same thing for Marvel. It's like Thanos is an Eternal. Like that's we'll learn some of this stuff right in the movie, but like the Eternals are not important in the Marvel universe. The Eternals have been around for a long time. The Eternals are a thing that exists. Like they definitely, but nobody cares. Nobody's favorite characters are the Eternals. You know what I mean? Like this is very much Guardians of the Galaxy again, except that like Guardians of the Galaxy in one point in time, like you could find people of a certain generation who are like, "Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is what got me into Marvel Comics. I think you would be very hard pressed to find somebody who was like, the Eternals is what I showed up for, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
then I got into Spider-Man and the X-Men, and it's like no. The Eternals is just it's Marvel Studios attempting to once again pull from the D list and make something out of nothing, which they will, because the movie looks phenomenal. The trailer,
It
like,
does.
there's
I mean, it
nothing to
looks.
talk about with this trailer, but like, it looks beautiful. The tone is incredible.
The
The
cast
humor in
is
it,
great.
like, yeah, the cast is mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fantastic movie. I'm not discounting that, but like, anybody who tries to do the gatekeeper thing in the next 6 months, and it's not even 6 months, it's November, right? So it's what, like 5 months away?
Oh wow. I guess so. Hey.
Like, anybody who tries to do the gatekeeper thing of like, oh yeah, man, I read the Eternals comics back in the day. It's like, no, you didn't. You're full of it. You have not been waiting for this movie the entire time. That you are trying to be a Marvel hipster, and I won't stand for it. I'm not gonna allow it. Don't bring that nonsense here.
As
Actually,
someone
as a
who
matter of
doesn't
fact,
like gatekeeping, I feel like you gatekeep a lot.
well, no, I'm saying that the gatekeeping is nonsense. Like, don't it's the people who say that stuff are the
Gotcha.
hipster gatekeepers. They're the ones who are trying to be like, you don't know who the Eternals are? Well, let me tell you. And it's like, you read that on Wikipedia. You got a subscription to Marvel Unlimited, and you read all of the old boring Eternals comics. Good for you. Congratulations. You did it. So, and they did it so that they could be like, look, there are a handful of people that are going to be the exceptions that prove this rule. Curtis Finley is one of those exceptions. Like, Curtis legitimately likes old comic books. He's wrong for liking old comic books. Like, they're boring and lame. They're boring and lame compared to modern stuff. Like, the storytelling tropes are very, very tired, right? They're foundational. They're important. They're part of the fundamentals of comics. We wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for the 60s and 70s, right? But like, it's rough to read some of those comics, right? There are exceptions, but it's rough.
Okay.
Like, pick up a 1940s or a 1950s Superman comic, one issue, and try and get through that issue. It's like, the art form was new. They were figuring it out. There's some stuff in there that's important if you want to know your history. But like, don't try and come at me and say that like the storytelling back then was better. Like, that's that like, Citizen Kane is the best movie of all time sort of nonsense. It's like, no, Citizen Kane is one of the most important films of all time. Agreed. Is it one of the best movies ever made? No. The Shawshank Redemption is one of the best movies ever made,
I have
right?
seen Shawshank and I have not seen Citizen Kane.
I have seen Citizen Kane. I have seen Shawshank Redemption. I've seen a lot of things because I went to film school, right? And I was forced to.
The one about the sled.
Rosebud, yes.
Yeah.
Spoilers. The Rosebud is, and like that's exactly it. Rosebud is the first. That's the first ever spoiler, right?
I guess so.
I mean, the first ever spoiler is 3 days later, Jesus
nothing.
rises from the dead, right?
Yeah.
But like,
I know nothing about Citizen Kane. I know nothing. I don't know what the movie is about. I know
Yeah.
nothing, but I do know about Rosebud.
It's the movie Citizen Kane. The movie Citizen Kane is about Citizen Kane, like the title character, right? And it's about like a life lived in pursuit of like wealth and like success and prosperity and all of that sort of thing. And then on his deathbed, he says Rosebud, and he drops the snow globe, right? And it shatters. And then like, that's the beginning of the movie. And then it goes back and it goes through his whole life. And at the end of the day, like, all of that other stuff, everything else in his life, everything that he accomplished, he's this wealthy man who dies in this like fabulous mansion sort of thing. Like it's like, none of that mattered because he was never happier in his entire life than with that sled.
Oh, this is it's like
right?
tearing me. It's like making me
No,
tear
it's
up.
like
Aw.
I'm not saying that Citizen Kane is a bad movie. Like it's not. Like and the story is a good story. But like the reason why Citizen Kane is called like one of the greatest movies of all time is because Citizen Kane was the first time that a film stepped outside of like, hey, look at this. We took a bunch of photographs in sequence and then we put a song to it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Citizen Kane was like, hey, we're going to make you feel emotions other than humor, other than laughter, right? And it took you on a roller coaster of like there's humor in it, there's it's sad, it's melancholy, there's ennui, like it's a film, it's like it's the first film, right?
Right.
So it's important, it's foundational. We wouldn't have movies as we know them today without Citizen Kane going first. Something else would have done it eventually,
I mean,
right? But
something's
Citizen
always
Kane
first.
is
Yeah.
what did it, so it's
Yeah.
important, right? It's just like I On the Waterfront, right? Marlon Brando. It's super important. It's a very
that one.
slow, very boring movie about unions. That's what it's about.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But but again, like it's an important movie, and if you study film, it's the sort of movie that you should watch, because like it takes what Citizen Kane established of like we're gonna tell a story, and then it goes okay, like we're actually gonna focus on performance. The cinematography isn't going to be dictated by the setting or the surroundings. The cinematography is actually going to be dictated by the performance of the actor, right? And like that, like Marlon Brando's performance in On the Waterfront is the first time in a movie really that it was like we're stepping out of I like Humphrey Bogart and like that sort of like heightened sort of thing into like oh man, this is like a real person with a real story,
Right.
like like it's dramatic and not melodramatic, whereas like everything before that was kind of like more like a stage play. It was heightened, right?
Right.
And it progressed things forward. Is it like I don't know. I mean, like you could make an argument, because On the Waterfront is a pretty fantastic movie. It's not as bad as going back to try and watch Citizen Kane, which is super long and very slow, and like they didn't know what they were doing yet, right? It was kind of the first time that somebody did that. All of that to say, going back, comics in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's like as we go, we're figuring it out. I also think that there's a lot less to choose from back then, as much as like there were a lot of comics. It's not like today where I think we are inundated with
You can get
like there's
everything.
new
Comics
comic
about
book day is like
everything.
yeah, every Wednesday it's like hundreds of comics every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right, of new issues. And there's something for everybody, and there's a lot of just hamster cage liners in there. Like just shred that right now, because the most useful it's going to be is for a hamster to poop on. I not to denigrate the people who are working hard on those things, but like there's a lot of really really garbage comics. I for one would rather have less comics of higher quality than the being inundated, and I'm talking mostly about Marvel and DC where they're just kind of shoveling that stuff out, because it's about numbers for them, because this is the dynamic that a lot of people don't understand with comic books. Like it's for with Marvel and DC specifically, there are collectors, and those collectors buy everything because they've always bought everything because they started collecting in an age of like, hey, this could be worth something someday. None of it will ever be worth anything, but like there's a diamond in the rough every so often. They're like, hey, that comic actually ends up being worth something. None of the mass market floppy issues are going to be worth anything ever because they're printing thousands of them and everybody's putting them in bags and boards and taking really good care of them. It's just making me feel like I should just stop caring about them like that. Like they're just stories. I'm not gonna sell my collection one day. I gotta knock it off. Anyways, I the whole game with Marvel and DC is let's put out as many books as we can. until the point where we see sales start to decrease. And then what we'll do is we'll do a soft reboot of the universe, and now we'll start back at number ones again. We'll only do 20 books. And then slowly it's like we're in 20 books, 3 X-Men books tops, three X-Men stories tops. Okay, guys, like X-Men, it always gets out of control, guys. We got to take it back. It's got to be simple. Nobody can follow these storylines. Spider-Man only needs 1 book. Okay, 2 books. Spider-Man needs 2 books. Okay, a month, because people don't want to wait a whole month for another Spider-Man story. So we can have 2. We can have Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. That's fine. We'll add Web of Spider-Man in 6 months. Don't worry about it. And then by the time that it gets out of control, it's like, oh, you've got X-Men, you've got Uncanny X-Men, you've got the Irascible X-Men, you've got the unbelievably cool X-Men, you've got Excalibur, you've got X-Force, you've got like, and it's like by the time that they get out of control, which is where they're at right now with the X-Men, it's like we've got Cable and Deadpool as their own series. But you need to be reading it because, like in 3 months, we're going to do a big crossover where the Phoenix comes back, and what Cable and Deadpool are doing is actually really, really important for that story. So if you're not reading that book, you're going to be totally lost. So you better be reading all of the books all of the time. But also there's a bunch of people who don't even read the books. They just buy them and then they just put them in a box. And then they just sit in a box.
That's so useful.
It's incredibly useful, but they're collectors. They don't care about the stories. They care about the collecting. Right. They'll read the stories in a summary on Wikipedia or something like that, or somebody will do a review, and that's all they need to care about.
Right.
They get everything they need to know from the cover, of which they're going to buy 5 variants of the cover. Anyways, comics are dumb. Comic books are stupid. There's a reason why the industry is always on its last legs, and it's because of nonsense like this. The people who publish comics don't care about stories for the most part. They care about keeping those numbers up. You got to keep those numbers up. It's all about the numbers. And it's like all of that to say, go support your local comic shop. And there are a lot of really cool comic books out there to read. But as somebody who reads comic books on a regular basis, like, I don't know, every 3rd comic book that I read is I just wish that I could get that 15 minutes back.
See, that's not good. I don't know. So while you've been on your little mini rant about collecting comic books, I have been reading up on the Eternals because I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. But so we already talked about the cast a little bit, but like it's gonna be cool to see Kit Harington and Richard Madden in something like epic again since Game of Thrones days, which is cool. I don't know how big a role Kit Harington actually has, because when I look at the name of his character, I can't see it in anything that's an Eternals breakdown. But so I want to talk about Chloe Zhao for a little bit though, because have we talked about Nomadland at all on this, or her at all?
I can't really talk about Nomadland because I haven't watched it. I don't even know what it's about.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't know it's on Disney Plus. So if you have, this is why I watched it, because I heard about it and then I was like, well, maybe I should watch this. And it's just so fascinating to me that this happens where there's these directors that I'm like, what have these directors done? And it's like, they do 4 things and then a Marvel movie. And it's kind of like, okay, what is it about these directors that just like, it's like, how does that happen? Anyways, I can tell. I watched Nomadland to just be like, what is this all about? And I'm like, oh, I get it. She's a fantastic director. And so Nomadland is what's the actress? It's the 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. That actress.
Fargo. I know. I had it when you said
Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand.
Yeah. And it's basically about, so Frances McDormand, her husband passed away, and she lived in a town that became basically a ghost town. And so she's poor and in her older years, and she basically lives out of a van, and it's like about like a van culture and like living and it's just like this really interesting deconstruction of what it means to like live in a capitalist society and then also fit in, and like the actors in it are people that
actually live that lifestyle. Like there are some people, because it's based on a book. So the two things that give me a lot of hope for Eternals is that um some of the work, I'm not familiar with all of the work that she has done, but Chloe Zhao tends to write and direct stuff, and she works really closely with the actors to create the story. Like it, so the Nomadland is based on a book, and in the book it was interviewing people that were part of this culture. And anyways, there are people from that book that are actually in this movie as they act as themselves. And it was about halfway through that I was like, I wonder if these are real people, because it works really well, and that there's an art and a beauty to that, to put Frances McDormand as the actor and have her play off of these people and elevate absolutely everything about the story. But it also has this really visceral quality to it, because it's like documentary-esque, but it's not at all a document. It's not at all, sorry, documentary is probably the wrong word, but like really raw, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for. But then now that I'm just reading up a little bit, like it seems like she has a lot of insight into this script as well for Eternals. And I'm now just in these like last 10 minutes that I've been sort of reading up about this, I'm like, well, she probably would have done that as well, like taken her own flavors of like what makes her a great director, but then also all of the influences of somebody who actually sounds like she was a fan of the MCU and of comic books, and she is like quoting like her love of manga and like things like that, to actually create a story that is going to be about something. And I just think that that's really cool. And then the visuals, like you already can see in the trailer, like the trailer might not be about much, but you can see that there's visuals. So if she even does half of what she can do with Nomadland in terms of actually making the actors like making the story about something, I don't know, I'm quite excited for it. Like,
it is interesting because we're at a point, and I mean, like they actually they intimate it in the trailer itself, because it ends with them sitting around the table and they're having their conversation. Like, so with Captain Rogers and Iron Man gone, who's gonna lead the Avengers?
Right.
And then he's like, oh, maybe not maybe, he just says, I could lead the Avengers.
And that's Icarus, right? Is that who he plays?
Yeah. Like the joke there, the meta joke on top of the joke inside it, is everybody laughing at him, right? He's
Right.
like kind of the most hero-ish of them. The meta joke is that the Eternals are actually, like, there's a reason why it's the second movie, right? Why? Because we're getting a flashback with Black Widow to before Infinity War.
Right.
And then the next movie we were supposed to get was Eternals.
Right.
Because Eternals is going to set up the next era it was going to set up the next era of the MCU. So it was going to be, originally this is what the slate should have been, right? And it's very telling what it was going to be. Black Widow, flashback, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, which now that we're sort of on the other side of that, we can talk about. It's like, was obviously about reckoning with Cap being gone and Sam becoming the new Captain America, right? Which is very familiar stuff. And then the next thing would have been actually like really close together, would have been Eternals and then WandaVision,
right?
Which all of a sudden is this weird left turn into mythical, legendary and weird magic stuff, right? Like now we're suddenly like getting out of like our familiar paramilitary MCU, which is where we've spent a lot of time,
right?
Since phase 1, right? Iron Man, Captain America, the Avengers, all of the other Captain America movies, right? Like we've even Ant-Man to a degree. It's like it's all very like Shield, Hydra, blah blah blah, terrestrial stuff. Obviously, we get into the Guardians, we get into Thor, we get into Infinity War and Endgame, which start to take us into like the cosmic space stuff. But Doctor Strange is really the only time that we've gone like, hey, let's get funky with magic. Let's get weird, right? And even Doctor Strange played it very safe. The weirdest we really got was Mirror Universe I mean, like we get the sequence where he goes through all of the realms, right? Where he goes through every
Oh yeah.
universe sort of thing
Yeah.
in the multiverse. But mostly we got Mirror, and then we got the dark, like not dark, like Dormammu's realm, right?
Oh yeah.
Where
Man, I have to
everything's all
I
weird and
want to
pulsing and
rewatch.
stuff.
I should rewatch
Oh,
Doctor
dude,
Strange,
rewatch
man.
Doctor Strange as
I
often
haven't
as
seen it in
possible
so
because it's
long.
so good. It's such a great movie. Hey, you remember I hated Benedict Cumberbatch
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
and then Doctor Strange turned me around on Benedict Cumberbatch. So I still think he's ridiculous for his performance as Smog, like the being in the pajamas and pretending he's a dragon. But whatever, actors are weird. But Eternals would have been like in that place in time if we had gotten it last November. Would have been like this, like, oh hey, let's start to see the Marvel universe from a different perspective. And then we would have gotten WandaVision after that, which would have been like, hey, like let's crank the weird up to 11 with a character we're familiar with, right? Leading into multiverse and Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Like which would have been, Doctor Strange would have come out before, because Doctor Strange would have been, I want to say Doctor Strange would have been this May.
Really?
Is that right?
Holy.
Yeah, because it would have been, Shang-Chi would have been February, which we're now getting in September. We're getting it before the
That's not too
Eternals.
bad.
But like, here's the thing with Shang-Chi is that Shang-Chi is also weird, mythical, Doctor Strange type stuff.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that people are ready for that yet. They're thinking that it's going to be more like Thor, but it's not going to be. It's going to be about like chi and energy flow and like kung fu stuff, but like mythical kung fu stuff. And we saw those little bits in the trailer that I'm like, oh, I'm even more excited than I was before, because like they're gonna go there, they're gonna crank that up to 11 with the, because sometimes Shang-Chi stories are more like just sort of like straight up Bruce Lee kung fu stories where he just knows every martial art, like that's his thing. But this is like, no, he's got superpowers. He's he's gonna be one of the main Avengers moving forward. So yeah, like we got a bunch of like weird magic multiverse stuff going on in this phase, and Eternals is gonna be a really big part of that. So yeah, but the trailer gives a little bit of that, but again, like the visual language of it and stuff that we've seen so far is very Thor-ish.
It is. They're very much leaning into that in the
But
advertising.
I would say to everybody, like, buckle up, it's gonna get weird. This stuff's gonna get weird. Like look at WandaVision and how weird WandaVision got with its concepts. Like how, and when I say weird, I mean like out there, like complex, right? Of like Wanda created a world with her grief, right? Like
Right.
like,
Yeah.
was Vision real or wasn't he? Were her children real or weren't they? Right? Like we had to, the ship of Theseus stuff, right? Like we had to ask ourselves
Yeah.
some very metaphysical, very like out there spiritualistic questions while watching a show about sitcoms. Right? Like
Right.
they went to a
Right.
weird place, and Eternals I think is going to also go to a weird place with them having lived for thousands of years and basically affected the course of humanity from day one. Like it's gonna be a wonky movie. It's gonna be, I don't know how much of it people are going to dig. It's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is. But the other part of it is that they are hiding the action stuff from us. Cuz
Okay.
it's in there. Like it's not like it's just going to be like this weird like Terrence Malick like type of movie, right? It's not. It's going to be a Marvel movie. There will be punching and fighting. Like there will be explosions, but I like how they're presenting it right now as like, this is going to be like the most artsy fartsy Marvel movie ever. And it's like, it probably will be, but it also will still be very much a Marvel movie. Like, don't worry about
Oh
it.
yeah, there's gonna be. I it's I keep having these moments where I look up people on
like the internet and be like, wow, they're so much younger than I thought they were. And Simu Liu is born in 89, man. He's younger than
Yeah,
my
we're
sister.
older than him.
Makes me so sad. Anyways, she's my litmus test through which I leave all things. I was watching Ginny. Something similar happened, but it wasn't necessarily about age, but I was watching Ginny and Georgia on Netflix. And there's an actor that I was like, this actor is great. I would like to follow them on Instagram. And by great, I mean good looking. But it turns out I already follow them on Instagram. So it was like a weird, I was like, oh, I guess I had that thought previously. But I don't know. I don't know where I've seen him. Maybe he just was, I don't know. Anyways, it was but I was relaying that story and somebody was like, what, did you find out that they were so much younger than you? And I was like, oh yeah, no, they were also very much younger than me. So it's like I always keep following people that are just like so much younger than me. And ugh. Anyways,
I think the key, like the place that you have to look at it from, if you want to feel bad about yourself, is to go, when I was 18, how old were they?
Oh no, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would I do that to myself?
Yeah.
That's actually, I get that. So the Tom Holland lip sync video to Umbrella comes up all the time on like when I'm watching YouTube. It's just like always, like after I watch a couple videos, it's always in the recommendations because I almost always watch it because it's just so fun. But I have a hard time because Tom Holland is so young. And I'm like, he should not be somebody that's presented to me in any sort of sexualized way. And I'm worried because he's coming out as Nathan Drake. And even though I have nothing to do with video games, I do know enough to know that I think that Nathan Drake is a rather sexy video game character. And I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But it's like weird where like I was also thinking, oh, I know what made me think of this. Because BTS's song Butter came out this week. And as somebody who likes Korean drama, I feel like I should like BTS because they're really popular right now and they're making Korea like stand out on a national stage. But I don't know BTS. Like they're not a band that I ever listened to because I liked Korean like pop music 10 years ago. Like, well, actually maybe not that long. But the bands that I liked are the guys that are now in their 30s. And BTS is not. They are super young, or at least, I mean, I haven't really looked that much into it, but like I've seen them and they look very young. So I'm kind of like, I don't think that I should be trying very hard to like sexualize these like young kids. But I very much do that with the pop music that I liked at the time. And I'm like, but if I watch the old like Big Bang music videos, because that was the K-pop band that I really like, and they're in my age bracket, they were the same age as BTS is now in a lot of these music videos. So I'm kind of like, well, what is that about? Like how you like age yourself and then you like recognize, like we talked about this before when I watched Dirty Dancing Havana Nights with Diego Luna, who was like really young. And I was like, ooh, that's a little too young for me to be sexually attracted to. But because I knew him as the older version of him, I felt like it was okay. So I don't know. It's just like a thing that I'm now having to really think about in my 30s. And probably because I was watching Ginny and Georgia and I was very proud of myself that I wasn't attracted to any of the young people. And it was like when I didn't have that realization until afterwards, where I was like, because the people I was finding on Instagram were the characters that are the mom's love interests. Like one of them was the one that I looked up and I was like, oh boy, this guy is 3 years younger than me and he's playing the mom's love interest. Anyways, it just was a thing that I'm like, I'm just so old.
Yeah, I had this realization. I mean, like having kids, I think makes it even more so. It's easier to see it happening.
Yeah.
But like you are in your weird perpetual late 20s stasis bubble.
Yes.
Which I hate you for. But when you have kids and then you're watching episodes of Boy Meets World and you find yourself definitely hardcore relating more to Alan Matthews than Corey Matthews. It's like, no, I've crossed the Rubicon. It's over for me. I'm lost.
Yeah.
Fly, you fools. Like that's it's done. It's done. There's no hope for me.
I think I should start watching Golden Girls. Maybe it'll make me feel better.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I've never seen it.
Hey, look, when I was like 8 years old, I loved Golden Girls. It was
Yeah,
like one of my favorite
Really,
shows.
people
So
love Golden Girls, and I've just never
well,
watched it.
Golden Girls is just a great television show. It doesn't matter that it's dated. It doesn't matter that it was the 80s/90s. It doesn't matter what age you are now or
Yeah.
then. It's just good television. It's just good television.
And then
Um,
it doesn't help with the age thing, but it is somewhat nice to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just because if nothing else, it is gotta be the worst depiction of human beings that it currently exists in popular culture.
I feel
Like,
like
they just-
you're stealing from my recent tweets as I've just started watching It's Always Sunny.
Oh, really?
And I tweeted that my favorite thing about this show is watching it and feeling much better about myself as a person because they're just the worst. They're awful. I like to think that It's Always Sunny and Community are in the same universe. There's nothing that connects them.
There's
right?
nothing, no. But
Except tone. They're both absurd and meta.
Yeah.
And the difference is that like in It's Always Sunny, you have how many of them are there? There's 5 of them. Yeah, you have 5 Jeffs, right?
Yes, because
As opposed to
at least in Community, you can find somebody somewhat okay to relate.
In
to.
Community, it's about like Jeff is a character from It's Always Sunny,
Yeah.
who goes. He ends up at Greendale, and the people that he surrounds himself with end up transforming him into a better person. That's what that story is about.
Yeah.
It's about his journey into becoming a fully rounded and fully realized human being that, you know, like that can have relationships and, you know, be a part of a community. Right.
Yeah.
But It's Always Sunny is the opposite, where like everybody that comes into their sphere, and I'm only on like season 3, I think. So don't spoil anything for me.
No, it's all good. I've only watched it sporadically, so I love
like,
it. But,
Cricket, who when he comes back into their sphere, who's like one of their friends from high school, is like they meet him again when he's a priest. And at the point that I'm at now, he's a homeless crack addict that is like bent on revenge against the gang, except for Sweet D, who he's still in love with and will do anything for, despite the fact that she literally steps on him at times. Right. Like, and it's like, it's exactly the opposite of like anybody who gets caught in their orbit is made less by virtue of just being near them. Like they just eat people's souls and spit out husks of human beings. And I love it. It's a fantastic television program, and I'm having so much fun watching it. It's so good. It's so good.
It just came onto my radar again because I haven't watched it in a while. It's
on Disney Plus. That's why I'm watching.
Yeah, no, it's on Disney Plus. So like I'd watched a couple episodes,
Yeah.
and I just was going into random episodes every now and then. So I've never watched it all the way through, but every once in a while I'll watch like the same episodes that I've seen. But I watched Under a Rock with Tig Notaro because I get into YouTube holes, and it's one of the things that was like advertised to me. And the main guy from It's Always Sunny, who's like the co-creator, was one of the people that she interviewed. And I didn't realize that he like made it. Like I didn't know that. I thought that it was just a show that he was on. But then going back and watching the very first few episodes and being like, oh wow, this was a show that was just like these guys wanting to make something. And that's like, as somebody who lives in a world where I have a lot of friends that just want to make stuff, it's like a weird, actually I had this, sorry to say, this podcast is going all over the place today, but I had this conversation yesterday. I met up with a friend for a walk, and we went to get Korean tacos to eat on the seawall. And we were just like chit chatting, and oh my gosh, it fell out of my brain what I was gonna say. What was I saying?
Second time tonight.
That's insane.
Did you forget to take your brain medication?
I think so. Oh my gosh. Oh yes, no, okay. We were talking about how or I was lamenting about how I don't know anybody in professions that are not like film people or baristas. Like I really like, honestly, like my like all of my social circle are people that are like in creative industries, and it's like, how do I not know at least one doctor or like one accountant
Yeah.
or like and it just was like this sort of weird, I don't know, like you just sort of
Yeah.
surround yourself by people that are always doing the same. So anyway, so
I
in my
liked-
brain it feels like
yeah.
everybody's always trying to do a show, and I just thought that was cool, but it's always something.
I like to say that my friends are all deadbeats. And that's
Sure.
the same thing. They're creatives. They're all
Creatives.
creatives, but they're deadbeats. Like none of them have real jobs. They all live in like 1-bedroom apartments and stuff. And it's like, yeah,
Hey, I have
it's
a real job and live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Thank you very much.
it's it's weird to be like the guy who like works a 9-to-5 office job and like in an industry that I don't care about, and like I just cash the check.
But it's creative. You at least are a
It is creative. Yeah. No, I found a way to do it, but I also like it's also a corporate like
Yeah.
office
I'm a corporate
job.
shill. So there's many days where
Yeah.
I come out of it and I'm kind of like, oh.
Yeah. And I've got the like we own a house and 2 cars and I've got kids and like
Yeah.
you know, like it's
You're my adulting friend, Mike.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, like you say that I'm sitting in a room surrounded by toys and comic books, but it's fine.
It's
But
really-
yeah, like it's always like a very weird thing because then like I turn around and it's like because people are like, oh, you know, like, oh, like who in your network can like help you advance, can help you like get a better job or whatever, you know, like move forward in your career. And then I look around and I go like, oh, I am that to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
Like because like I've gotten people like contracts and stuff like that and that sort and but like it's funny because it's like it's the you know, like there's an asshole in every group, and if you look around and you don't see the asshole, it's you. It's like it's like that, but with like I guess this is a bit of a humble brag, but that's okay. It is very much the like oh man, like because I don't see myself that way, right? Like I see myself as like, man, like it's imposter syndrome of like like I wish that I was doing more. I wish that I was more successful. I wish I made more money, had a bigger house, had nicer cars instead of just 2 of them, but like 2 nicer ones, right? Like oh, I wish I could afford a Tesla. I wish I could buy a brand new
Ugh, I want a
Corvette,
Tesla
right?
so bad.
Stupid stuff like that. None of it matters. And I wouldn't do it anyways. I would still buy a nice, reliable Toyota. I maybe I'd upgrade to a Lexus because it's basically a Toyota with a bigger price tag. But it's even there. I'm saying it. I wouldn't. It's dumb. It's dumb to buy a Lexus. Just buy a Toyota. They're literally made in the same factories. They are the same frame of vehicle. It's just it's like buying that stupid Gucci bag because it's got the logos on it, and it's like it's not nicer than the bag that doesn't. But whatever.
I want Louboutins so badly, and I don't even like high heels. Like I'm like,
And
I would get some.
Is that the red?
Yeah, the red sole ones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you want them just because, like, if somebody's on a
Just
talk show and they
because-
put their foot up
Right,
and they've
you're
got
like,
the red
"Oh
sole,
my
then there's an
gosh,
article about it the next day, right?
Louboutins." Ugh,
Yeah, exactly.
But also,
Dumb.
it would make me feel glamorous, and
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
often feel glamorous. So I will one day have a
knowing
Tesla and Louboutins. That's
knowing
like
the
my
way that
business.
you dress on a regular basis, and certainly the way that you dress when you come to my house, which is to say that Amanda doesn't own clothes so much as she owns fabric that she just wraps around her body.
Flowy.
A lot of scarves. Amanda has a lot of scarves.
I am wearing a scarf right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be hilarious to me to see you wrapped in your 4 or 5 scarves. And then like the most expensive shoes on the planet on your feet, like
Okay.
high heels.
So
No-
I
no
have
way.
I have a very strong opinion about shoes that is often, this is like similar to how people don't think that I have an opinion about cars, but I do have opinions about cars and I have opinions about shoes. And it's like fundamentally, I believe that shoes dictate everything else about your wardrobe. And as somebody that lives in Vancouver, I think about shoes every day. And
Yeah.
it's been so freeing for the last year to not be going anywhere. So I get to wear whatever I want to wear. But it also has made me realize just how much, like, there's a reason why I like my summer wardrobe better, because I'm not limited by the shoes that I'm wearing to keep my feet warm and dry.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I would rise to the occasion of Louboutins.
You know who doesn't care about that?
Uh,
People that drive from either their attached garage
Yes.
or underground parking
To their
to
underground.
their job where they have a parking
Yeah,
spot that is
exactly.
also covered or underground.
There's a thing where it's like I think about this a lot, right? About like
and
how
they have those people always have nice shoes.
you have nice shoes because you can. There's the other things in your life dictate and like facilitate that, right? Like if I didn't
Yeah.
have to walk, then I could wear heels because
I have
right?
like I have nice shoes,
yeah.
right? Like I have a few pairs of like I have some like Steve Madden I like dress shoes, right? Which Steve Madden, like not the fanciest, but still you're talking about like $200 for a pair of shoes. For a pair of dress shoes, right? Like as opposed to the $70 or $80 that I would spend on a pair of Adidas sneakers.
Right.
But they never get worn. They get worn like I'm maybe if I decide to wear something fancy on Christmas Eve,
Right.
to go to
Right.
church.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll probably just wear my much more comfortable fancy leather shoes from Spring. Because they're slip-ons. I don't have the tiny laces.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is funny because I do sort of subscribe to the theory of like if everything you need to know about a person you can tell from the shoes that they're wearing. But then I look at my shoes and I go like, oh, what do people think about me?
Yeah.
Because my shoes are I don't. I mean, most of the time I'm wearing a pair of Adidas sneakers, but also like I have Vessies, which if you live in Vancouver,
I just bought Vessies, dude. Literally, like they just arrived on Friday.
They're awful. They're
Oh,
terrible,
really?
but they're very comfortable.
Oh, what do you mean they're terrible?
Oh, just like, it's like, oh, these are high quality shoes that are totally waterproof. And it's like, yeah, eventually they won't be waterproof anymore because the heel is going to separate from the sole. And
yes, but they are quite waterproof,
underneath.
which is nice. They are quite waterproof.
When you first buy them, they are. Yes, 100%.
That's what I feel like
and they're very comfortable. They're very, very comfortable. Like they're the shoe and they're slip-on. So they're the shoes that I wear the most often because it's like, well, I'm just going to slip those on my feet. And also it's raining today.
Yeah. But see, if you didn't have to worry about that. And if I could take taxis everywhere and if I could there's a certain amount, there's a reason why people with money wear nicer shoes. And it's because
and nicer clothes in general.
Nicer clothes because it's just there's also less I sweat a lot because I move around and so I can only wear a certain my clothes are dictated by the way that I live my life, right? Which I feel is anyways.
Yeah.
That's a
also have you ever noticed that more expensive clothes don't last as long?
I actually have not. I am very much a proponent of more expensive clothes. And I know that I'm not it might be maybe even more expensive clothes are worse, but I've started buying I used to buy really fast fashion, really garbage t-shirts that were $2.
Yeah.
But now I'm spending more money on basic things and they're better.
It might be different for men's clothes over women's clothes, but if I buy
it might be, yeah.
So there's the 3 steps of the Gap, right? You've got Old Navy, the Gap, and Banana Republic. They're all the same company.
Yeah.
And the clothes are almost always identical. You can get the same V-neck sweater, knit sweater at all 3 stores at a certain time of year, right?
Yeah.
In maybe in different colors, but usually in the same ish colors. Like you can get the same burgundy V-neck sweater at all 3 stores. The one that I buy at Old Navy will last 5 years of wearing it every few days, once a week, basically. The one from the Gap might last me 2 seasons, 2 winters. The one from Banana Republic will get pilly and look awful by the end of that season, to the point, and it'll stretch out and it'll never go back to its original shape. It just, and I don't know, maybe I'm just washing them wrong, or I don't know. I mean, I followed the instructions on the label, right? But hang to dry and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter for me. It's and I don't know, maybe that's just a men's clothing thing that's different.
I mean, it might be not that. I mean, those all, because they're at similar companies. I don't know what to speak to that. There might be something about that. But I mean, there's certain types or things or styles
By
that are
by the way,
yeah.
like you'll pay at Old Navy, you'll pay maybe if you're paying full price, you'll pay $30 for that sweater, but don't pay full price. You get that sweater for $15,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
At the Gap, you're gonna pay $70 for it, maybe even 80 or 90 if it's like depending on what time of year it is. Again, don't pay full price for anything at the Gap. You get that for half price. And then at Banana Republic, you're gonna pay over $120 for that. For it's the same sweater, like in terms of looks, in terms of the way that it looks to other people, it's exactly the same, right?
All right.
Like I don't know. It's for men's clothing. It's like I'll give you like if I'm gonna buy a dress shirt or something like that. Like if I buy like a Brooks Brothers dress shirt, it's gonna be a lot nicer than if I buy one from the Gap. But also like I'm paying a lot more money for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like men's clothing is weird.
It's also the thing about men's clothing that makes me a little sad is that it's like variations of the same things, whereas
Oh yeah,
women
yeah,
just
yeah.
have like a lot of options. And I'm loving
It's
that
a button down
high-waisted.
shirt and a crew
Yeah.
neck sweater, maybe a cardigan, maybe a hoodie.
Yeah, yeah.
And then jeans.
Yeah.
And just all jeans.
Yeah. Yeah. But high-waisted
Khakis.
jeans have come back in style. And I guess I say come back in style. I guess they were in style in the 80s, but I'm liking it. I didn't think I was going to like the high-waisted style, but I'm leaning into it and I'm enjoying it, and it just is nicer to have clothes that don't give me muffin tops. Like it's just nice.
Hey,
Like these low rise jeans
I
with
mean,
the
like,
flares, like
have you seen a picture of a pop star from the early 2000s recently? Where their jeans are so low that you can tell how recently they've shaved.
yeah. Oh,
Uh,
jeez. Yeah.
yeah. Oh boy. I can't believe that people were walking around in public and not being like locked up
There's some, I don't know.
for some of that stuff.
It's very, yeah. Anyways, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying. I'm kind
Not
of
that
liking-
teenage me didn't appreciate the hell out of it, but like
I do like that yoga pants still seem to be okay and tolerated in society. I know that they're not like
Yeah.
great, but like I really just I don't think I'll ever not love yoga pants.
I do think that yoga pants have led to a very slippery slope of like
jeggings.
okay, but what you're wearing, do we actually constitute that as outer clothes and not underclothes? You know what I mean? Like in some instances, not all.
Fair.
Like I'm fine, like yoga pants, whatever. But like there are some instances where I say it's like those are tights, not leggings.
Yes.
And
It's a
you
fine
should
line.
have something over top of those in the bottom area. The buttock and groin region should be a little bit more covered.
Yes.
But also I'm an old man, so you know I'm 36 today, so I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30, and
Whoa.
my opinions don't matter.
Well,
They don't matter.
or
They're
you're
not
still
important.
because you're a man, you're still in a core demographic that people will cater to for at least another 10 years. So you
A
know,
little bit,
you're
but
good.
yeah.
For my 40th birthday, this is me officially inviting you to Greece to celebrate my 40th birthday.
Okay.
I'm planning now. I'm gonna go.
The musical or the country?
The country.
Okay. Because the musical, no thanks. I'll pass.
But yeah, I really want to just like go like sit on a catamaran in the middle of the Mediterranean for like a
Okay,
week.
I'll let Crystal know.
Please do. It's gonna be very good. I'm very excited. Probably Santorini, although some people are now convincing me that Crete would be a better place to go. So I don't know.
I mean, like we're talking about another
5 years.
5 years. Let's see where the ocean level is. We'll make a
I
decision
mean,
closer to the
That's
day.
fair. That's fair. That's fair. Also, I'm very
Uh,
excited to eventually go to Disneyland. So
Man, in
hopefully
5
they'll
years.
let
So
me.
in 5 years, Cassie will be 6.5, almost 7, right?
Wow,
And
yeah.
Kara will be almost 10.
They can enjoy a trip to Greece.
Oh, I was gonna say we don't have to bring them.
I
have
mean,
to
that's
bring
true.
them.
You don't.
We
have
can
to.
leave them
That's
for
true.
a
You
week
can.
with,
Yeah,
with,
you could
with
like.
grandparents.
Yeah, with grandparents, and I mean, even Cassie. I feel like I definitely
Sounds
had friends
phenomenal.
friends over at my house for like a week where their parents went went on vacation. So yeah, come to Greece in 5 years. It'll be great.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
that sounds fantastic.
So that's like what I'm looking forward to now in my like as I'm getting elderly. I'm starting to like plan because I did once like I saw like a table of people that were celebrating a 40th birthday and I was like, those people don't seem much older than me. And I'm starting to
Yeah.
realize that they weren't. They weren't.
Well, and for us, 40 will be the new 30, right? So
I hope so. I mean, there's
see,
like
40 is when I intend on really like buckling down and getting fit so that I can be
okay.
like hot dad, you know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Cuz like right now it doesn't matter. Right now it doesn't make a difference. And even 40 is probably a little bit too early for it to really matter that much. Be more for my own self-esteem than anything.
That's fair, but like when
I
you're
do
in your
think
like
like
50s, like
because well, but this is the preparation, right? Because
yeah.
the preparation is for my 50s when I decide to completely switch my career path and actually get into acting.
Oh,
Because in my
smart.
50s, the whole like Jewish thing will work for me really well. If current trends are any indicator, right?
Right.
Like in my mid 30s, it's not really doing it. But like when I hit my 50s and hopefully my hair is like is mostly grayed or whatever, and you know I'm really wrinkly and all that sort of thing, but if I'm also like fit, like if I'm also in good shape, I could be I could be a grumpy Jewish guy on a TV show.
There you go. I mean that's
So
a great
that's my plan.
that's a nice angle. I actually there was just a picture of sometimes Twitter just gives me like things. It's like you would like to look at this right now, and it was a Zachary Levi photo, and the
Yeah.
question was somebody had asked him if he still had like a sprinkle of gray at his temples, and he took a photo showing that he did. And there's like just something about me being older where I'm kind of like that like is great.
It
Like,
is
just
weird
like
how the window shifts, right? Because
yeah.
like if you show me a picture of like a hot 20-year-old right now, I'll be like, "Oh, no thank you. No thank
Yeah.
you." Because
Yeah.
of two things. I don't got the energy for that. I just don't. I'm too tired. I can't put up with this. And also like the emotional maturity of it is just like I don't want to deal with the type of drama that comes with a 20-year-old. You know
That's
what I mean?
fair. Yeah. No.
Then this is all
I
obviously hypothetical stuff, right?
yeah.
And I'm also you'll notice I'm not talking about gender. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah.
any of that
Just 20
stuff,
year
right?
olds,
Like
20-year-olds
identity.
in
I'm just
general.
talking about 20-year-olds. Like
Yeah.
I just don't got time for it. I but if you show me a picture of a hot 30-year-old, I'm like, "Whoo, yes." Whereas like when I was in my 20s, if you'd be like, "Check out this hot 30-year-old," I'd be like, "Kind of old."
Yeah. Yeah.
They're kind of looking old. But now it's like oh, a little bit of crow's feet going on. That does it for me. That works. Because it
Uh,
shows there's like wisdom and maturity there,
yeah,
you
and
know?
that
Like
you've
it's
already
and
gone through. Like I was a completely different because this is the thing about like getting rid of stuff in my house and going
yeah.
through like old photos and being like, what an idiot I was when I was in my 20s. My goodness, like. All of my photos are of me just like out drinking with friends, and I'm like, why did you take photos of these? These are terrible, and I'm having this really hard conundrum to be like, do I just throw all of these away? Like, why do I want to keep these photos that are like, anyways? But in my like, I feel like 30s are great. Like you become a real person in your 30s, where you're like,
Yeah.
this is who I am now. And I think about it a lot, where I'm kind of like, if I had to go back in time, if I would, there was a certain point in my life where I was like, that would be so great, and I would just relive it. And I'm kind of like, now I'm like, oh, that'd be the worst. Be the worst to go back and have to relive any of those things. It might be nice to go back to a couple classes. Like, and have we talked about the Green Knight yet? About that coming out? It made me think about English lit and the Sir Gawain.
No, that's a topic for another day.
We'll talk about it at another time, but it makes me really happy that literally like the only thing I retained from grade 11 English lit was the song where she goes, Sir Gawain, what a guy, Sir Gawain, do or die. I just will like always remember that. I don't remember what Sir Gawain is about, but I remember that he would do or die. So anyways.
You know what? I think that's it. I think that's the episode. I think we did it.
I think we covered a lot of things.
Yeah.
from yeah,
And
it's
I do have a note to go out on.
okay.
That's really important.
Great.
Eric Goldman, a film and TV critic that I greatly admire and whose opinions I trust, has seen Fast 9, F9.
Okay.
And he has tweeted his no spoilers, basically his impressions coming out of the theater this evening.
Oh.
So this is, I mean, for you guys, it'll be late because it'll be tomorrow morning. But for us recording, this is hot off the presses. Not 9:53. He tweeted this. It's currently 10:31. So this is as fresh as it gets. F9 is utterly ridiculous and goes further than ever in terms of leaving behind any semblance of reality. And I found it a total delight and had a giant grin on my face watching it. It
Aw.
really is exactly the kind of big ass movie we need as we begin to get back to normal.
Amazing.
If I don't get to see this movie in the movie theater, I am going to personally start jamming needles with the vaccine in the arms of random passersby. I don't know where I'm going to get the vaccines. I don't know how I'm going to determine whether or not you've already had the vaccine before I do this.
But you'll just be there on the corner with your needle ready to go.
But if I don't get to see Fast 9 in the theater on opening night, I am going to be livid. Absolutely, completely furious and fast. I will be both of those things in real life. Because I want to see this movie so bad. Because Han is back and I need answers.
There you go.
I need answers. And if it gets, here's the thing. If someone spoils me on Fast 9, I don't even know. I don't even know. I can't. I hate this timeline. I hate the world that we currently occupy. I hate that America is ahead of us on this stuff right now.
It's driving me bananas.
Just
Like, I mean,
ashamed of us as a country.
I'm very excited for the States. I'm glad you guys are doing so well, but it is.
I'm happy for all my
really
friends who are
getting
fully
to me.
vaccinated. Yes,
It's
like
really
that's not
getting
part
to
of it.
me. But like, how is
Yeah.
Canada just doing such a rubbish job of getting ourselves vaccinated? It's real.
I'm not mad at America. Like, you guys made the right decision. You voted out the Orange Menace, and you have an adult in charge. And now you guys are reaping the rewards of that. Like, the vaccine rollout has actually been incredibly successful. I get so many people who are like, oh, but would it have been without Trump, like, getting it to the point that, and it's like, no. Trump was going to get as many vaccines produced as possible, and then he was going to hold it over everybody's heads and force the government to do things like repeal the Affordable Care Act and then charge people money for the vaccine. Guaranteed. Like, he was going to use that as a bargaining chip instead of doing the humanitarian thing, which is to make sure that as many people get it as possible. The situation that we're in globally is so much better because of that change of the change in that seat of power. But our government here in Canada is just so kind of like lackadaisical about it, and it just
I don't know. The thing is, I think we're trying to get vaccines as fast as we can, and I think percentage wise we're actually doing pretty good for like the whole of the
but I do also think that we're doing the classic Canadian move of like being way too nice about it and not leveraging our position on the world stage and saying like, hey, we need these vaccines in order to get things back to normal here. Like,
I mean, I'm perfectly happy with us not stealing more vaccines from India. Like, I feel like a lot of people
I don't think that we should be taking vaccines that would otherwise be allocated. I think that Canada needed to flex some muscle and say, hey, America, give us the ability to produce our own vaccines, because that's the problem.
Okay, yeah.
Is that it's not that we don't have the industry here to do it. We could do it. We certainly have, like, we have the infrastructure. We lack the will to do that. And the Canadian government went, it'll be fine if we just buy them from the States. And the States is like, no, these are for us. Rightfully so, because they have a way bigger population than us.
Yeah.
But
I get it. Yeah.
pressure should have been applied on Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, all of these companies of like, open this up and allow, like, it should have been like a UN thing of like, allow other places to be manufacturing more of this stuff. Because they're not, because they want to control it, because they want the profit from it. They want the money from it, right?
Well, there's a whole thing about vaccine. We're now getting into a whole second podcast.
Oh,
We've been
yeah.
talking about vaccine
don't have time for it.
inequality forever. So we can hear that's a preview of our next podcast. We'll talk about vaccine inequality and the Green Knight.
The problem is that in 2 weeks something else will have
I
happened.
know,
They'll
yeah,
have
it
like
will.
given us the
It's
trailer
true.
for Book of Boba Fett or something like that. And so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, who knows? I didn't think we were going to talk about anything coming off of the Eternals. It was going to be like, yeah, it looks boring, and then move on. No, it doesn't look boring. I'm kidding. I actually had a whole topic that like in my back pocket that I was
There you
going to
go.
pull out, and then we did it. We made a whole episode.
We made a whole episode starting with the
That's
Eternals.
it.
It's good.
That's
all
it.
we need. We need just that little spark of conversation.
Yeah,
Then
I'll be
then we'll
back
roll.
next week with another episode of Off the Record, a bonus one for May. You get 2 in May. I
Woohoo.
don't know how that happens. It's my birthday. You guys get a present. But if you're supporting us over on Patreon at the $5 level or above, you will get that exclusive content, hashtag content. We're content creators on the internet.
There
It's
you
a thing.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then Amanda will be back in 2 weeks
Yeah.
for another Thunderquack. And that's it. That's it.
Fun
Thank you
time.
guys for listening.
All right. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands and be kind to one another.
Follow the Thunderquack Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching the Thunderquack Podcast. You can support us in 3 ways. First, by heading to the podcast service of your choice and leaving a rating and review. Second, by going to store.thunderquack.com to pick up some merch from your favorite podcasts. And last but not least, by heading to patreon.com/thunderquack to kick in with your monthly pledge of support and get cool rewards like early access and extended episodes. The Thunderquack Podcast is the official podcast of thunderquack.com. Head to thunderquack.com to discover more great podcasts.